Good evening, everyone. I'm Nancy Umanoff, Executive Director of the Mark Morris Dance Group. Welcome to Dance On. It's great to see so many friends and fans joining us for this first event in our 40th anniversary digital season. This is not any way in which we imagine celebrating this great milestone, but I'm excited to share all that's to come. Over the next 6 months, there will be many conversations with Mark, company members and collaborators, and lots of interactive classes and workshops. And there'll be lots of dancing. Video dances like the 5 we're going to premiere this evening, screenings of rarely seen archival footage, and some of Mark's most popular works. And in March, we'll live stream performances from Brooklyn. I hope you'll join us many times throughout the season. Of course, none of this would be possible without the extraordinary commitment and resiliency of the Mark Morris Dance Group dancers, staff, and board. Nor would it be possible without any of you and the many individuals and institutions who've contributed to our Recovery Fund and our Dance On 40th Anniversary Fund. We are deeply grateful. And a special thank you to our official sponsor, Bloomberg Philanthropies. We have a few housekeeping items before we get started. First, it's best to watch this event in full screen mode on either computers or laptops, though of course tablets and phones work fine. Mark and Music Director Colin Fowler will be taking questions throughout the evening, so I encourage you to use the Q&A function in Zoom. And if you're watching on YouTube, we have Sam Black, our rehearsal director, monitoring the chat, and he'll forward your questions to us. So now to help us kick off the night, please join me in welcoming award-winning fashion designer, television personality, MMDG board member, and dear friend, Isaac Mizrahi.
Hi.
Hi, Isaac.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Take it away.
I will do. I'm so excited to be here tonight to introduce my best friend, Mark. I was taken to see, well, I'd heard so much about Mark. And then finally, I would say this was in the early 1990s or the late 1980s. I think it was the late 1980s. I went to see Pas de Poisson at BAM, which is this beautiful dance. I can't remember if it's Satie or Mio, something like the beautiful kind of machine age music and 3 dancers. And there was an announcement made. It was Mark and Penny. And suddenly this announcer said, and the 3rd dancer tonight will be Mikhail Baryshnikov. And it was so glamorous because it hadn't been announced beforehand. It was just this complete bonus to everyone sitting in the theater. We felt so lucky, you know. But then, like, that was the least of it. I mean, Misha was incredible, but he was sort of the least of it. It was that beautiful show. Then I guess it was like either the next night or several months later, again, I was brought to BAM to see the beautiful L'Allegro. And I'll tell you, like from that point on, I had been ruined for almost everything else. You know, of course, I love dance very much. I love watching it, but I don't love anything as much as I love watching Mark Morris's dancing. And I'm really excited about the 40th anniversary. It kind of makes me want to throw up a little bit that it's been 40 years, okay? It's exciting, but it's also a little bit kind of wistful when you think about the passage of time. Anything that marks the passage of 40 years is at once like very, very great, but also a little bit wistful. And anyway, I won't take any more of our time. We want to get straight to these dances. I will say that I'm really excited about the actual live stream dances in March. I can't wait for those. So don't go anywhere without getting more information about those. And without further ado, I will introduce my best friend, Mr. Mark Morris. Are you there, Mr. Mark Morris?
Well, indeed I am, Isaac Mizrahi.
Oh, wait, is it Colonel Sanders or is it Mark Morris? Oh, sorry.
It's not Robert E. Lee, I'll tell you that.
Right, okay.
That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And, anyway, thank you for your delightful words and your charm, which is beyond recognition. You're too charming, etc.
Nice.
Are you gonna? Yeah, you're gonna go watch this.
I'm watching.
Do this.
I'm so excited to watch. Yes, I am.
Right. Also, 40 years. It's so crazy because
40 years.
We did a show in March in Spokane, Washington. That was our last show of the calendar year. And we're hoping to get more in, but it's like, oh, yay, my 40th anniversary. So we're charging on and
Right.
it's working well. And thanks to you so very much. So I'm going to go on. I'm going to replace you with Colin Fowler, who I know you're familiar with.
I love Colin.
I know there's
I
no one
love him.
fouler than Colin.
Oh, he's great.
Okay.
He's great.
Oh, look,
You feel
there
good
he
about
is.
that? You feel good about
Yeah,
that?
I do. I feel pretty
Yeah.
good.
Oh, I've never
Welcome.
heard that. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Hi, Isaac. How are you?
Hi, Colin. Good, thanks. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you.
Great to
Go
see
away.
you too. I'm
Isaac,
going
go
away.
home.
Okay.
Go
Bye-bye.
home. Thank you, darling. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, good. I'm glad he's swung by. We're showing 5 new video dances tonight. And we're going to directly show the first one because why not? Start with that stuff and we'll do some more talking and take questions and stuff in between. You want to say anything, Con? No.
No, I'd say let's dive in. There's time
Okay.
for talking later. Let's.
All right. The first number is called The Lover's Demise, and it is it's basically very directly taken from Layla and Majnun, this Azerbaijani opera that we were involved in and toured all over, this wonderful, wonderful piece. And so this is the beginning of Act 5. It's called The Lover's Demise because guess what? They're going to die pretty soon in the opera. It happens in operas as well as all the time. So this is, what's this called? The Lover's Demise, and let's watch it right now.
Great.
There. Hooray. The Lover's Demise.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. I mean, the beautiful choreography, of course, as well. But it's the opera actually was composed in 1908 by an Azerbaijani composer, Hajibayev, and it's performed every year. It's like an annual festival, and this was a beautiful arrangement that came through the Silk Road ensemble with Colin Jacobson and Johnny Gandelsman and Alim Kazimov, who is a national treasure of Azerbaijan, and an incredible singer who got to tour with us and perform this all over the world. So it's wonderful to share this version of your beautiful dance and this beautiful piece with everyone.
Well, next is Schubert. Next is we're going to go right to the next dance in a second, which is called Offertorium. And very, very few people have ever seen this piece because it was choreographed on me, by me, and executed by me. And it was done for, I know, you'll figure it out. It was done as a pièce d'occasion for a gala for what was then known as PS 122. And so there was very little space and I didn't have very much time. So I made up a dance that didn't take up much time or space to hail the Queen of Heaven, the Virgin Mary. So in this case, it's going to be Lauren Grant performing this, who's danced with my company for, let's say, decades. And what do you want to say, Colin? You want to say something before we roll this?
No, it's a beautiful piece of music. I have one question. So you're the only person that's ever danced this in front of an audience. Is that correct?
As far as I know.
Okay.
And since then, since we've been where we've been at home, there are several people in my company who've learned it. We've been doing a project where people are learning old dances, solos mostly, because everybody's home alone pretty much, and a duet or two. So we searched through the old dances, and this seemed like a good one to put together. So Lauren filmed it, and here it is. It's called Offertorium.
Hooray. Beautiful.
Hooray. Yeah.
I was going to say earlier, but I just wanted to throw in that I know Schubert is very famous for all of his vocal compositions. His leader, he wrote over 600 songs. And for someone who passed away at 31, that's fairly impressive. However, this is obviously a sacred work, or in case it wasn't obvious, it's a sacred work, but he also wrote a handful of them. He actually wrote 7 different settings to this particular text of Salve Regina.
Oh.
So, yeah, of which this is obviously an incredibly beautiful one.
Yeah. Well, he was a real leader in his field, I just wanted to mention that
I'm not going to respond to that.
I know. Well, you did. The dancers have not seen these. I just realized Lauren is probably, I don't know, plotting or something watching this, which I hope she is. But they sent, the dancers film everything. They send it in, and then Colin and I have at it and edit it musically or whatever we do. And Sam Black, my fabulous rehearsal assistant. So we work on this for many, many hours, most days. So it's a very interesting, very different way of doing what we normally do. Also, I love that her feet are dirty. Something about real life there. Anyhow.
Yeah, it happens when you dance on dirt with bare feet.
I know, it's great. It's the
it's
earth,
beautiful,
the earth,
actually.
Gaia. Let's take some questions. Nancy, do you have some questions for us, por favor?
Yes, we actually have nearly a dozen questions that are quite similar. So perhaps you can give us a little bit more explanation about what kind of direction you've given dancers for these filmings. Were these, particularly with Lauren Grant, was it filmed straight through in each location? How much direction was given?
Oh, okay, good, because I was losing track there.
I said it was a dozen questions compiled.
I know, that was like 3, and that's fine. I can keep track of that. Something like this dance offertorium, which several people learned, like I said, in other pieces from the repertory, that they didn't know. People learned these dances from videotape, I had some ex-dancers or, people who used to dance with me, that's the same thing, come in and work with them. And I know the pieces. I can watch them and rehearse them, as weird as it is, as we get used to doing it over, these media like Zoom. So it's kind of like a regular rehearsal, except there's no air or sound or the sound of breathing or perspiration or depth, or, it's a very flat thing, as we all know. So we take that into consideration. It's very hard to sync things up musically and physically. That's a real challenge all the time, which I'll let Colin talk about eventually. But then this next piece, this is a good question, because the next piece and then one later on were choreographed in a way that I've never done really before, which is I gave the dancers sort of tasks in the sort of Judson Church way. I gave them assignments, simple moves, hold still in a rock pose, a spiral descent, a spiral fall, a back fall, spinning, and an empty frame, basically. And that's based sort of loosely on the idea of two ecstatic themes of Doris Humphrey, which is a wonderful, wonderful dance. So we took those moves, and in this piece that's coming up, we edited them and put the music on later, which seems the opposite of what I do. But the difference is that in a studio full of dancers, because they're so quick and so smart, and I work fast, that I can ask for something and then say, do it on the other leg, do it twice as fast, face the other way, just do the arms. And I work with the material there and change it. And then I still do the same thing of culling things that I don't like, doubling things I do like, changing things to make the dance of it. So in this case, it was just without the dancers in the studio. They gave their donation, their contribution, and then we arrange them. So it's a similar thing, but very different also. That was 2 out of 3. I can't remember the third one.
So backwards, to go backwards, the third one, Lauren sent, I believe, 10 different films of that. I think 7 or 8 were complete, and a few of them were just some some shorter sections of some close-ups, but otherwise they were complete things. And then Mark and I, with Sam, put together the film that everyone just saw.
Because some people sent in like not very much, and some people sent in reams of material. So that was part of the interesting thing. Like, I wonder how many she sent in this time, or I hope we get something soon from that person. So that's been part of it, and that's part of the interest of it because of how different people's approach to the actual filming of it.
And as far as the direction that you gave the dancers, it's both specific and vague. They have room to inject their own artistry, of which they
Yeah.
are all incredible artists, and it's fabulous to watch. There were 723 different submissions for the film that we're about to watch, that we got to pour through and see all the wonderful things that they came up with. So they have some specificity, but there's definitely some vagueness there for them to interject themselves, and then we decide what we like and put it all together into what hopefully everyone else enjoys.
Something else, Nancy?
Yes.
Okay.
This person assumes that Colin Fowler has many skills and has played many roles within the company, but none before as film editor. Why did you find him to be the collaborator of choice in this role?
That's a good
And
question.
let me preface this by saying I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
Well, Colin is indeed a jack of many trades. He's a real sort of a Renaissance man, and he's a multi-instrumentalist who attended the Juilliard Academy of Music, or whatever that is, and has many, many, many degrees. And he also has he's like a tech queen nerd. So he likes to do this kind of stuff that I have no skill on at all. And he has like a computer, and he lives just a few blocks away. And we would have to do that for the music anyway. So it was just sort of coinky dink that he ended up as the de facto editor. I'm very happy about it, because God knows it would be a flip book if I was doing it. There would be nothing at all. So, Colin, do you want to flatter yourself more than I did?
no, thank you very much. It's been, even though we live 3 blocks apart, we have hardly seen each other since March. But it's been really fun to do. I'm thankful for the opportunity for Mark. It's been a fun new skill to learn, and I've been privileged to work with Mark for 14 years in many different roles. I consider him a friend and a colleague and a mentor, and it's been very fun to do this. I'm looking at this with the lemonade out of lemons of COVID situation. We probably wouldn't have been in this situation without this, but it's been really fun, and using a new skill, and hopefully, I think, making really enjoyable art together.
Because the dancers are doing that. They're also in crazy where the hell are we land of dancing in their vast palatial apartments, but more likely not. And just trying to sync this stuff up and keep everything going and have a mask on and not be really, really stupid and still do some aspect of what we're doing. So we're happy to do this. It's not what we normally do. So our fingers are always crossed on this. That's why I'm not very good at typing, but that's how we came up with these products. I think it's time to show the next number. Is that right, Nancy? May I go on?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. The next number is, as I talked about a long time ago, is built from these assignments of moves. And in choosing music, we could make up like 100 more of these to different pieces of music. And it would probably get a little redundant after a while. But we tried to make up very different video dances from very different pieces of music. So the one I selected for this one is called Allegro Molto, and which I translate as pretty darn fast. And it's a composition that I wasn't aware of, and I thought I knew all of this guy's work, of Conlon Nancarrow, who's famous for his player piano etudes. But Colin, you discovered something more about that.
I did, yes. He's very famous. I learned at the Juilliard Academy of Music, or whatever you misnamed my
I forget
alma
what
mater.
it is. Yeah.
That's fine. Yes, he's very famous for the 49 etudes for player piano. This was originally written for a human pianist to play, which is basically impossible to play. So this actually led him. This was the first piece that he composed while in exile in Mexico City. That's another story. But this led him to compose things for the player piano, to compose things that were more difficult. And he heard in his mind with his mathematical craziness, I might say. But it is technically tried to be played by human pianists, but rarely achieved. So the recording that we're going to use is on a player piano.
It would take 11 fingers and 3 hands, I think, but we'll see.
And 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Let's watch this piece. It's called Allegro Molto.
Whenever you're ready.
Well, that was harrowing. And also what dance is the right length, really? Most of them are a little bit too long, but that can't be accused of that. Anyhow.
I'm going to step on Nancy's toes, actually. Have you ever choreographed a dance where you choreographed the movement before you chose the music?
I don't know. Probably. I don't know. I mean, I sometimes choreograph stuff that doesn't relate to the piece of music I'm working on. I don't even listen to the music, and then I sort of smash them together. That's probably part of it. But I was working on a dance where the composer ran out of music before I ran out of moves. So I had to put that on the back burner for a couple of weeks while the composer in question finished the piece, which turned out fabulously. It was just really down to the wire John Adams.
I hate it when that happens. I hate it
Oh,
when
yeah.
that happens.
Yeah, it turned out great, and we're still friends, and the piece was beautiful. So there you have it. But no, I don't think I've done it this way before. I thought you were gonna ask if I'd done a lot of Conlon Nancaro. In the early days, I did 2 pieces that were then done interleaved. There was a piece for men and a piece for women, and I put them together, and they were called Junior High and Etude Moderne, and they were to probably 8 or 10 of the player piano etudes. They're kind of a fabulous, kooky dance. You don't want to listen to that all the time, but when you do, it's a real workout, and I think it's just thrilling. Okay, our next dance is from a piece of mine called Empire Garden, and it's the first movement, and it's a piano trio of Charles Ives. You go.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful piece. It's a wonderful dance. It's actually one of my favorite dances that you've choreographed. I got to play in the rehearsals when you made it up. It premiered, I think, in 2009. It's a piece that Charles Ives composed in the early 20th century. He finished it in, I think, around 1911 or so. And again, this is just the first movement. The whole piece is a wonderful thing. The second movement is called TSIAJ, which stands for This Scherzo is a Joke. It's also it's not impossible to play, but it's very difficult to play, very challenging, very fun. The third movement is also a wonderful movement, and he quotes so many different things. My Old Kentucky Home. It ends with Rock of Ages. It's wonderful. The first movement, however, which we're going to see, is also a wonderful thing. It's again for piano, violin, and cello, but the first section of this movement is the right hand of the piano along with the cello. The second section is the left hand of the piano along with the violin, and the third section is when everybody comes together and plays exactly what they played before, the 27 measures of each of those sections, and they come together, and then there's a few extra measures at the end. So it's a beautiful construction, and what I find fascinating is that each section is beautiful on its own merit, and then when it all comes together, it's like a new piece. So
yeah, it seems like it shouldn't happen, and it's very, very deliberately obvious, at least if you are following the music, that the dancers do exactly that. There's a team of dancers for each of those 4 parts. Sorry, cello, fiddle, right and left hand,
left hand,
right hand, left hand, and right hand, left hand. Yeah. And so they do that in the same thing, the 27 bars, then it changes teams again, and then it unites, everybody does it together. And we've done that in the editing a little bit to help with the watching of this. And we included also the musicians appear in this, who are Colin Fowler at the keyboard, Georgy Valchev fiddle, violin, and Yo-Yo Ma, the very famous cellist, playing the cello. So let's watch this. This is, what's this called? Empire Garden, movement 1, right? Roll that, please. Whoa. I do have a question. I didn't think I had anything to say about that. How did you wrangle the recording of you three musicians in different cities or wherever you were? How did that work? Because that's complicated stuff.
It is, and I would like to thank both Georgi Valchev and Yo-Yo Ma for participating in this with us. If you were to pick a piece to do remotely, it would not have been this one. This is a very difficult piece on many levels, but the ensemble part of it, as in playing together in very difficult rhythms and polyrhythms, is not an easy thing to do. However, none of this was edited. This was all done in one straight take. Maybe not on the first try, for me included. But what happened, I sent my recording to Yo-Yo Ma, and he sent his recording back.
You did a piano version?
I did a piano version.
Yeah, okay.
And then I sent it to Mr. Ma, and he recorded the cello. I put that together, and I sent that to Georgi. He added the violin, and that's what we got to see and hear just now.
The rest is herstory.
It is.
Because that can be a hard piece to listen to. I mean, it's so dense, and the more you listen to it, the more it becomes thrilling, I think. And learn the dancers. It's like the dancers are miraculous counters, and since they have to memorize everything, so the dancers know this. Like, oh, of course, it goes with this. It starts on a rest. It's like, how can you even do that? So they are absolutely immovably accurate rhythmically, musically. And sometimes, the music can be tricky again because it doesn't always align on the beats that you would think. Like, never.
Can be tricky rhythmically.
It can be. It's impossible. It's like
from measure
impossible.
1 to measure 27 plus 27 plus 27, 81 plus the code. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, that works. Hooray! And we put in a few little guides to make it easier to watch. But it appears just like it does on stage. The left side here and the right side here. That's what it's like when it's in a theater. So that was pretty close to how it would be, except less outside, maybe. Anyway, how about some questions? Nancy, some questions.
Okay. Mark, since you compose so much of your work with live music, how have the current conditions challenged you to think about the relationship between dancer and musician and the energy of live music?
Let's say I've been listening to very little music recreationally. I've been exploring stuff and studying stuff, and the miracle of Spotify, that company that plays music for you.
I think it's Spotify.
Yeah.
I think it's Spotify.
Yeah. Spotify. Anyway, I use it all the time, and everyone should use that. It's an interesting thing because it also, in applying dances to music and vice versa, like I did in these two of the new pieces, it's a different kind of interdependence with music and dance. You can always do whatever the hell you want, but I work very, very closely. I work in rehearsal with a living musician, Colin Fowler, but I'm choreographing right now on Zoom. Teaching class for 15, 18 people is a challenge. It all is. Rehearsal with a few people is okay, but I've learned that I can choreograph most productively and sort of best in this situation with one person. So I'm on a Zoom call with one dancer, me, Colin, and Sam Black, my assistant. So it's a 4-panel screen that we disappear to just watch the dancing. And it's a whole different thing that with trying to sync up the visual and the oral is really, really difficult. So it's annoying, but it works out somehow. It works out in a different way that was, of course, unplanned and unprepared, but we're learning it as we go. So anyway.
The audio aspect is definitely the most frustrating thing of Zoom, for sure, just the delay and whatnot. But I will say those rehearsals is the most normal I have felt since March. Where it feels like it could be happening in the studio.
Yeah. It's just that I can't chase people around the same way.
Right. Yeah.
And there's nowhere to go. Also, if I could, that's the size of my apartment. Everybody
face you into the corner of your bedroom. Yeah.
Yeah. And now reverse. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting and frustrating in different ways, but it's revealing. We wouldn't have made this stuff up in another situation. Another question?
Once we can gather safely in theaters, will there still be video dances, or will you incorporate video into your stage dances? I know, 2 questions.
That's Well, first of all, I believe that the Zoom thing, pace people who invented Zoom, but there's going to be a better version sometime, maybe when we won't need it, but we'll appreciate it a lot more. It served everyone frustratingly, but well, because it's what we've got. Although I spend most of my communication time on an actual phone using my voice because I get sick of the face part here. I think that that's here to stay. Some people have always worked with video or film in some way. I just don't, because it's not the thing I like that much. I love television. If there's a video going on stage and some dancers, I just watch the TV. You don't need to dance. I get the idea. You're little and you can't do magic things like they can on a screen. So that won't happen, but probably working long distance remotely will continue. We don't have to be at meetings in person all the time. And some things will probably remain online and become easier. But I like the hard part of we're in the theater and it's the physical labor of putting the show on, of being together and, dancing with and for people. So I'm very nostalgic about that. And I hope that comes back in a big way as soon as it safely can. But, everything's changed a little bit. We'll see.
I will say it's been fun to see both you and your incredible dancers adapt to this format.
Mm-hmm.
And I think universally you're all excelling at it. It's fascinating to see your eye and your angle when we're editing and looking at the films, just as it's fascinating to see, for instance, the 723 submissions that the 17 members of the Mark Morris Dance Group sent in, and seeing what they took from your direction. And, everyone has to adapt during these unprecedented times. But we're still able to use our own gifts, and it's very thrilling and fun for me and inspiring for me to watch both you and your dancers adapt to this new format.
And we are actually, a lot of people mispronounce it, we are actually unprecedented at this time. Thank God. So, I just want to mention, I'm so sad about Alex Trebek's death, because I've been a Jeopardy! Queen since forever. So, RIP. Another question, anybody? Like Nancy?
Yes, I have two more questions I think we have time for. The two dances that were not adaptations of previously staged works, would you consider making a stage version of them in the future?
No.
We might have time for 3 questions.
Okay. No, I can't. That's not what they're for. They're kind of impossible to execute. Like the one you saw, Allegro Molto, it's too fast and too cut, and it would look like more of a mess if we did it in real life, and it would be unsatisfyingly short. So it's like that. It's meant to be like a commercial, which it is. It would be if we made money, that would make it a commercial. But I just want it to be like a blast of sound and dancing.
Well, apparently, you're going for Spotify to be our future sponsor. But
yes.
No, I agree. The things that were made were designed specifically for this medium and not to be translated to the stage, unlike the things we've taken from the stage and translated to this medium.
Right. For, good and bad results are mixed. We're never sure exactly what's responsible for what. Was that the question answered? Did we answer that question?
Well, I think the answer was just no. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Then we went on for a long time. Okay, what's another one?
Okay, how did you select the music for the 2 pieces in which the movement came first?
Well, the real short answer is I chose the Nan Caro and Colin chose the next one, which is Debussy. But at first we were just thinking about what could possibly happen. I was thinking of church bells and marching bands and music boxes and the ugliest, loudest thrash guitar. Not thrash, what's the word you say? Shredding. That stuff I don't listen, some of the stuff I don't listen to. I wanted something like profoundly ugly and impossible, and then make this beautiful dance to it, or whatever. So like I said, there could be many more dances from these 7,000 entries that the dancers gave. So, and since that's what the next thing is going to be, why don't you talk about the Debussy?
Well, we're commissioning a new piece from Anthrax, the hard rock band, for the next round.
Oh yeah, I know them.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
no, the next piece is will sound very familiar to many people, which is to Debussy's Clair de Lune, which is the third movement of his Suite Bergamasque. It's a 4-movement piece, and the original title that Debussy gave it is the title that Mark chose for the dance, which
Promenade Sentimentale.
I speak French
is what
okay,
it's
but
called.
I can't
Yeah.
say it.
You have
as
the
pretty
hand.
as
There's
that.
a hand. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a whole thing. So, anyway, I thought of this piece when I was watching all the submissions, and especially one of the assignments was an establishing shot where people just filmed a landscape of whatever they were going to do the move in, and just watching all of these beautiful establishing shots from across the country or from wherever the dancers were, made me think of this piece. This is one of those pieces that is overplayed, overdone, played way too often, and I still think it's a fabulous, beautiful piece of music. I love Debussy, and I love this piece of music, and I hope people enjoy this piece.
I think it's something, I'll tell you that. So why don't we show this? This is Promenade Sentimentale. Let's watch that now. Hooray.
Indeed. It's a beautiful piece of music. Actually, what I found interesting is, which I didn't know before we decided to do this, that Debussy initially didn't want that published. He wrote it when he was younger, and a publisher thought that he should publish it, and he revised it a little bit, and it was published 15 years after he originally wrote it. And it turned out to be, obviously, one of his most well-known compositions.
What, he thought it was just crappy juvenilia or something?
I didn't get to speak to him about it, but yeah, I think so.
But, you know, very often the most famous lasting pieces of music are a little cloying and obvious and nauseating. And this piece, when you said, Claire, it's like, no way. It's like when I saw one of the submissions, like a sunset plus a seagull. No. And then, of course, I'm crying. But yeah, yes. So yes, yeah. Indeed. Hey, Nancy, why don't you come back? Because we don't have any more dances to show, for one thing. And hooray, welcome.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I want to say that there have been more than 1,000 people that joined us tonight. That's still with us between Zoom and YouTube. So thank you all.
Great.
I hope you'll join us many times throughout the season. And Mark and Colin, before we sign off, maybe you could tell us what you're most looking forward to in the season.
A vaccine. I don't know. Because we're doing a lot of stuff. We're reviewing stuff. We're putting on all sorts of shows, you know, streaming things, some interview things, some study weeks of like real full immersion into some of the pieces, some new video dances. And whenever we can, the Mark Morris Dance Center in Brooklyn will be re-inhabited and grow back to, we hope, a real actual place where we can dance and rehearse and put on some shows. So we're aiming cautiously at all of that. We're trying to stay afloat. We're trying to stay interested and active, and we're doing that, and it's hard. And this is going on for a long time. Anyway, I don't know, Colin, you?
No, I agree. I as fun as this is, as fun as this has been, as fun as we have made it, I desperately miss performing. I desperately miss performing with other people in the room, with other musicians, with other dancers. And so I'm excited about the prospect of that hopefully happening in March. But as far as other things in the program, I'm also very excited about the L'Allegro Week coming up. That's just probably my favorite dance that I've ever seen of yours, Mark. It's just a transcendent work that I constantly am inspired and moved by. And so to further educate myself and also to be able to share the wonders of that piece, both musically and choreographically with others, I think it's a wonderful and exciting thing that I will certainly enjoy, and I think others will as well.
Nancy, what else do you know?
Well, if people have burning questions that we haven't answered tonight, please feel free to email us at events@mmdg.org. And I ask that everybody please stay and watch the credits and help us thank all of our donors.
And I want to say, express thanksgiving just by giving thanks alone and thinking of the people that you wish you were with, but you're not. Don't do that. And I do want to say that my candle indicates the season of Deepavali. So all of my Indian friends and Desi friends, hooray, it's a festival of light, which we can use about now. Not that I'm a religious fellow, but what's better than a candle in the background? You know what I'm saying? Let's see, thanks to all dancers, all musicians, all watchers, all everybody, all patrons, all fans, all the world. And we're gonna play out, the credits will be accompanied by a piece of music by the Gershwins, George and Ira Gershwin, that was written for the 1939 World's Fair. Anybody there? Anybody who was there?
I don't see anyone responding. No.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It takes a while. And this is called Dawn of a New Day, and we mean it. So thank you, everybody. Let's roll it.
It's the dawn of a new day.
the brass, roll the drum. To the world of tomorrow we come. See the sun through the gray. It's the dawn of a new day. Here we come, young and old, come to watch all the wonders unfold. And the tune that we play is the dawn of a new day. Tell the wolf at the door that we don't want him round anymore. Better times here to stay as we live and laugh the American way. Listen one, listen all, there can be no resisting the call. Come hail the dawn of a new day. The brass, roll the drum. To the world of tomorrow we come. See the sun through the gray. It's the dawn of a new day. Here we come, young and old, come to watch all the wonders unfold. And the tune that we play is the dawn of a new day. Tell the wolf at the door that we don't want him round anymore. Better times here to stay as we live and laugh the American way. Listen one, listen all, there can be no resisting the call. Come hail the dawn of a new day.